Hello and welcome back. This is part two of a two-part series. The first part was really an intention to move. This is a floor pose of a bunch of yin posing. So whether or not you want to do the first part, it's about 30 minutes. Or if you simply just want to join me for this yin part, that's up to you. But I'll mark the first video as part one and I'll mark this one as part two so you can kind of connect them together. Okay, let's get started. So what you may want is a bath towel, a yoga towel, maybe a block if you got a block, or a pillow will do too. But right now, so this practice is for anybody, and it is a practice of holding. So when we hold, we can release the fascia, we can really make some really good inroads to really lengthening the muscles. I'm not a big believer on static holding before you work out as an athlete, but I'm a real big believer on just a little bit of daily, 1 to 2 days, 3 to 5 days a week, static holding, which is called yin in yoga, or if you want to just call it stretching, if you feel more comfortable calling it that, that's great. So whatever it is that got you here, I'm glad you're here. Let's get started. So we're going to start on our toes. So if you can see, my toes are curled under. My big toes are touching, and I'm sitting my hips back toward my heels. It's called fire toes or prayer pose. So if this is hugely uncomfortable for you, which for me, it was very uncomfortable when I first started, get a couple of blocks, simply lean forward, right? That'll take some pressure off of your feet. But if you've ever had plantar fasciitis or anything, problems with your feet, this is a great stretch to help out your feet. So set up your pose, put a blanket under your knees, whatever you need to do to take care of yourself. But we're just going to be here together, breathing in. And setting the intention of community right here together. Even though we are separate, we are really together. I mean, by all the molecules out there in the universe, we are still touching. So my hands aren't physically touching, but they are between all this. I mean, like, so take COVID-19. They say that it can be spread 6 feet apart. So even though we're not together, that can be spread. So that too, I really believe that even though we're not together touching, we can still be together and sending out love, worshiping, whatever you want to spend your time focusing on, healing. Big full breath in. Big giant Okay, releasing that. If you need to kick out your toes, to kick them out, get a little blood flow back in there. I'm going to move into hero's pose, which is sitting onto the heels or sitting onto a block. So if you got one block, you can maybe turn it on its upright position, or if you've got two, you can stack your blocks, stretching out the fronts of your legs, the peroneals, all those muscles. For so many of us, the runners have tight ankles. Making your way and then returning to your breath. So it's a breath practice. So focusing on inhaling in and exhaling out. Breathing in and simply breathing out. Just noticing where your focus goes, where your awareness goes, energy flows. So if you're focused only on your pain, that's where the energy is going to flow to, is to the pain. So putting in a practice of, can you feel possibly maybe your belly, right? Can you soften in your belly? As you breathe in, can you expand your belly out? And as you breathe out, can you squeeze and hug your belly in? Breathing in, expanding. And breathing out, squeezing in. If you don't need a block, take the block away. You don't have to have the block, right? You can even lay back a little bit if you have some really open quads. Take your feet a little bit wider than your hips. Start to lay back. For me, I'm a little bit tight still in my quads, so my back doesn't go all the way to the floor. No big deal. Last 10 breaths. Breathing in, breathing out. You can put a block behind you too to support your back if you don't go all the way to the floor. Last 4 breaths. Release, come on up. Good, and in my yin practice, I don't call it a traditional yin practice. I call it maybe a hybrid yin practice. So putting in a little bit of physical work. Let's do some cat-cows. Breath in, breath out. Big inhale. Full exhale. Breath in. And breath out. I'm going to come into a down dog because it's so good for us. Strengthening. So your heels don't have to be on the floor. You can have your knees bent. Press your chest back. And then direct your breath in through your nose and out through your nose. If you're new, so maybe your hands, taking your hands a little bit wider than your shoulders, and your pointer fingers turned a little bit out, so 1 o'clock and 11 o'clock on the left hand. Just trying to draw the eyes of the elbows toward the ceiling, or your elbows toward one another. And then focus on breath. You can always drop your knees if you need to drop your knees and come out of it for a breath or two. And then you just simply begin again. You're going to take your big thumbs to touch. Your thumbs, maybe they're not big. Step your left foot outside of your outside of your left hand, and then you can come on your forearms, or you can bring a block underneath your forearms if you need that. But you're rolling on to the knife's edge, the side edge of your left foot. Dropping your back knee. Come back into your breath, in and out through your nose. Five more breaths right here. One more full breath in. Give a ha back. Come up onto your hands. Just going to bend your back knee, take your back foot with your left hand. If that's not possible, just reach toward the back of the room with your left hand. Twist. I'm going to take 10 breaths here. working into that deep stuck tissue. Big breath in. Big giant. Moving into half pigeon, so you're going to take your left foot, walk it across your mat. If you're new to half pigeon, you may want to lay on your back or taking a block, a pillow, something underneath your left hip. Level off your hips toward the front of your mat. Just bring your forehead to the floor, or you can bring your forehead to a block. Let go. Simply breathing in and breathing out, focusing on your breaths. You come up, take a little bitty baby back bend. Press down in your back knee, lift up through your chest. A little wiggle in here, a little movement. Okay, and we're just gonna come down, we're gonna do a plank, forearm plank. So you're gonna put your forearms on the floor. If you need your knees down, drop your knees down. A little bit of core work, even in our stillness. Important to have good, strong cores. What you're most grateful for. Last couple of breaths. Drop your hips. Little Sphinx pose. Little stretch of those core muscles. Psoas, iliacus, hip flexors, TFL, rectus femoris. Maybe lift your elbows, open up, and then down dog. Big full breath in. Big giant Bring your thumbs a touch. Step your right foot outside of your right hand. You're going to walk your right foot out to the outer edge of your mat. You want your foot ahead of your knee. Come onto the side, the pinky side edge. Elbows on the floor, a block, a blanket. Maybe even stay on your hands if you need that. Turn back to focusing on every breath. Breathing in, breathing out. You can have some music going in the background if you want that. Or you can just have the music of your mind, the prayer, God, gratitude, for healing, whatever you want to pray for. Big full breath in. Big giant Coming up on your hands, you're going to take your right hand, grab your left foot, or you're just looking over your right thumb. Either way. Right back into your breath practice. Little bend in the elbows, making our muscles work versus locking out the joints. Little bend in the elbows. Good, and just release. Coming in half pigeon, you're walking your right foot across your mat. Shin bone doesn't have to be square, it can be a little bit back, no big deal. Just wherever you feel the stretch, or where you can feel the stretch in your hip. Bring your forehead down to the floor, a block. You can put a block underneath your right sit bone. Let go. Sphinx pose. Both legs back, hips down. If you want, you can put your hands, forearms on a block, or your arms can be on the floor, no big deal. Whichever way feels better to you. It's a front body opener, so you shouldn't feel this in your low back at all. Right back into your practice of breathing. Five more breaths. Big breath in. Squeeze and release. Come on down all the way to your belly. Take all the way to the floor. Just letting your low back release. Bend your knees. Take your feet to the left, to the right. A little bit of movement in the sacral, lumbar spine. Switch ears. And then come up. Final couple of stretches. So, if you're tighter, sit on a block. So take a block underneath your sit bones. That will help you to lean forward a little bit. Right, so the intention of getting on the sit bones and leaning forward, walking the hands forward, or you can take your hands behind you if you look more like this, trying to lift your chest, trying to take your feet wide, maybe even bend your knees, put a block under your knees or let your knees bend, that's okay. Finding your spot. Moving back into stillness, moving back into your breath practice. Notice any place you're tensing, you're gripping, can you soften? Maybe it's your fingertips, your toe tips. It's your breath. Just looking for opportunities. Take this practice, your practice, a little deeper. Release, come up. Wow. Soles of your feet together. Cat-cows. Inhale, open. Exhale, round chin to the chest. Big spinal movement. Lift. Empty. One more big breath in. Full round breath out. Okay, I'm going to invite you into a cross-legged position. You can sit on a block, sit on a blanket. Take your palms to your thighs. You can bring your hands to your heart. Let your eyes close. And taking a few moments to sit here, breathe, and send out a little word of prayer, a little word of gratitude, a little thanksgiving to God, to those people on the front lines, and to yourself for moving your body from maybe within your house or on your back patio or wherever you are, maybe in your business. But I say to you, may God bless and keep you and have a great day. Namaste.